Bobbie, Jeff, how are you guys doing?
So good, man.
Good.
So good.
Awesome.
Bobbie.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Happy
Bobbie.
to be here with my friends.
Thanks for our tea.
You're welcome.
Wow. So nice.
Yes. So we're going to talk about 2024 and we obviously we don't have a crystal ball, but we want to talk about some of the market forces and what we think might happen. But 2023, rough year. Rough year. We just be honest.
It was a rough year.
Yes.
The roughest of all real estate years.
Why, Jeff? Why is that?
Actually, it wasn't the rough year for everybody. There's, some people seem to, as far as real estate agents are concerned, like kind of went through it just fine. And I think other ones, just didn't go through just fine. I think it was one of those years where you had different business models that like really like worked differently. And so us being a referral business and a lot of people that are more having to do half to sells, we'd say this year, that's not how we like pursue our business typically. So it was a lot more want to sells for us typically, and meaning that they like want to move up or move down in home. And so for us, it did hit us pretty hard this year, that, as far as transactions that have happened.
Yeah, business was really tough. I think, though, one of the things that I'm thankful for in 2023 was it really tested our resolve in so many ways,
Nice.
And so, when things get really tough like that, it shows you what you're made of and what you're pulling from. And, we're at the time we're recording it, we're in the kind of the middle of Advent. So last weekend, Sunday was about joy. So we were talking a lot about like the difference between happiness and joy, and how one is like largely emotional and you chase happiness. But if joy is kind of this like stable, sustaining force despite your circumstances. So that has really been tested in me in 2023 as life and work has been really difficult. But it's like, it's not saying that I deny my emotions, what I'm feeling, or be fake, but just saying, yes, these things are real and they're happening. And I'm going to try to find some joy in the midst of it.
Yeah, while you go.
But it has been tough.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
I think it's also been a refining though. So now we've kind of all had to look at our budgets. We've had to look at our lifestyles, all these things. And what a gift to go into what I think is going to be a great year.
Yeah.
And have, the ability to actually have the awareness of where we could go back to. So, front of mind, saving, living a little bit more, strategically.
Humbly, yes.
I think too, it's kind of like, the COVID years for realtors, we got used to a flow of income and of sales.
How do you guys balance this idea that real estate is cyclical and there's cycles and something like this has happened and it will happen again versus and this just felt different. It was maybe like Jeff, you've said it's one of, if not the hardest season you've ever been in real estate. You've been in real estate for a while. So how do you guys think and talk through something like that?
Yeah.
I think for me, I take a lot of comfort working with people who have been in the industry for a lot longer than I have.
Yeah.
I got licensed in 2015. So I haven't known much different, I wasn't there for the original crash, or not the original crash, but 2008 and those hard times and stuff. But working with people that have been doing this since the 80s, they've gone through so many things. This really isn't anything brand new. And actually, this was a great year compared to, some of those other downturns. So it's important to keep things in perspective.
Yeah,
I really like having those seasoned agents on board to remind me, like, it's just going to get, we'll go down and we'll come right back up. It is part of the business.
Good. So let's talk about some of the things that we know happened in 2023 from like data and all that kind of stuff. So data. So one of the things that was the talk of the town was interest rates. And, it was wild. We went from, I guess over the last couple of years, really, you go from 3s to 6s down to 5s and then all the way up to just over 8, I think at one point.
Yeah, that's true.
Which on the one hand, we would coach a lot of our buyers to not sort of have horse blinders on when it comes, and that's the only thing you think about, but it obviously affects affordability. So it's definitely a major data point that you have to look at. But then, so that it reduces the buyer pool. So there's just fewer people who can afford the homes, right? And you have the median sales price, both nationally and in SLO County, go up, which was not what I don't think people expected.
Right.
So what do you think?
But if we go back a year ago, we were saying pricing is not going to come down. That was our forecast. Is like it's going to go
And
up.
and why did we say that?
Because there's historically never been a correlation between interest rates and the price of homes.
Interestingly enough, too, there we talked about this I think last year as well. That was it 6 out of the last 8 recessions, home prices have increased
Yeah.
through the recession. So it's you can't. They're not one to one.
They're not to one.
So,
Although you would think.
yes, you would think.
You would hope.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and interest rates, we talk a lot about interest rates, but what are we actually really talking about? Inflation. Interest rates had to go up to curb inflation.
Yep.
Inflation drives what? Fixed assets, hard assets, any type of product to be more expensive, right?
Yeah.
So you know when you have higher interest rates, you're trying to curb inflation, but inflation's pushing the product price higher.
Well, and the Fed, it was some people were thinking, well, the Fed's going to flinch, and they didn't. And not only did they not flinch, I think arguably they pushed it more than they needed to. Do we need the last couple of months? I don't know, but the hope was for a soft landing, and whether or not we'll see that in 2024, I don't know. I mean, it's likely, but we just don't know. But so it's a good point. So why did that happen? It's because the Feds were making moves, and those moves impacted the bond and then ultimately the mortgage rates.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah, but I mean, I think you look at interest rates, like, it's going to bring prices down, but they're raising the interest rates to impact the inflation that was happening.
Yeah, and you did see
which real estate is one of the best hedges against inflation, by
Yes.
the way, because as soon as things inflate, real estate's the first to go up.
Yeah. I saw and talked to a bunch of heard on podcasts and other things, and talked to some investors who were like really making moves and still buying because there was just no competition.
Right.
So
Well, and that's the thing in our area too. We're a little bit different from the national, range when you look, but we still have so many cash buyers. We have plenty of people coming from out of the area, and the interest rates do affect a lot of the buyer pool, but not everybody.
do you guys know off the top of your head what percentage of transactions are cash in SLO County?
I don't.
And I had a feeling you were going to ask me for
Sorry.
some sort of stat.
You
that I
did
should have
warn
been
me. You
prepared
did warn
for.
me.
I didn't.
I feel like it's 20-ish%, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
78% of stats are made up on the spot.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
I think here's an interesting stat.
Okay.
So last year, the number of transactions that happened nationwide went down by 18%. Same projected for this year. So the total amount of closed volume went down, not volume, transactions went down 36% over the last 2 years. That's a huge shrinkage of the number of transactions that happen in the market of the United States, like just residentially. Like that's a crazy number.
Which
36%.
when you talk about home prices, supply and demand, is kind of economics 101, and so you have just very few homes available on the market.
Yeah,
and so
prediction time.
Okay, did we cover everything in 2023? Hard, tears, cries, rough.
There's some good moments.
There's some good moments for sure. Yeah, I mean, business wise, it was tough. Life wise, it was kind of tough. But again, like you're looking for the joy.
I think too, it's like I always go back to that old quote: "Don't wish that things were easier. Wish that you're better."
Yeah.
And it's like, it made us all a lot better, and it was like really focused, and some great celebration with some amazing clients too. Like when we got people houses they were trying to get, and you just had an amazing one this last Friday.
Yeah, closed on Friday.
One the Wednesday before were just the sweetest people. And because there was a little less competition in the market, we were able to get them homes. It was really cool.
And Jeff, I loved how you've recently in the last couple of years been focusing more on sellers, but you've recently been working with buyers. Can you talk about that feeling and how you'd forgotten?
I had forgotten. To really remember the feeling of closing a home with someone who started the journey. Like this just happened a couple weeks ago. Someone started the journey with me in July. The sweetest guy I've ever had the opportunity of working with, just heart of gold, like salt of the earth type of guy. And so we worked through quite a few different options, tight on the budget, but we just kept on looking, and finally we found the right place for him in the right city, right location, under $500K, and we got some repairs done, and we got him into that house. And we're in the kitchen, I'm giving him his keys and our gift that we give, and I'm pretty sure I'm more excited and more happy, but he was so happy too. And I think awkwardly as men, we didn't really even know what to do. But we had this, like, both of us were so happy about like him getting his first home, his first property, and what that meant for his life.
Yeah,
like,
it's life-changing.
It's life-changing. And like, I'm like, man, that's a really powerful thing.
And not to brag on you, but you wrote how many 3 offers in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah.
And how many of those 3 got accepted?
3 for 3.
Yeah, baby.
It's
So
been good.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're
it's been
back
really
at
good.
it.
The
Yeah, it's
man.
been fun.
Yeah. Okay. So, Bobbie, anything more? 2023.
2023. No, I mean, I think to Jeff's, what he said, we definitely had a lot of agents struggling this year, but also with every struggle kind of comes, like, people find their new way of operating, and it's been really fun to see people get creative.
Yeah.
And it's really brought all of us together a lot more in, we're all in it together, and it's
it feels
hard.
that way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
walking around so your team lead Keller Williams, and your office is also, I think, doubles as a therapy room.
counseling.
I
Yeah.
like
I've
it
been
that
in
way.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been there.
I've been there. I've been in the chair.
Yeah, there's a chair.
Yeah, there's a chair. And but yeah, it does really feel that way.
Yeah. It's like a like binding together,
Yeah.
kind of, and really getting excited about talking about ideas, and like it feels good to me because it feels like there's energy coming and change is coming, and
Yeah.
which is
we're all
always
working
good.
together.
We were just talking with Scott. Transparency, change, all this stuff is really good, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Nothing to be
looking
nervous
forward to it.
about.
Nothing to be nervous about. Okay, 2024.
Yeah, so I think 2024 is going to be a good year. I feel like we'll see a slow shift in the beginning of the year. Some more transactions. I think what we were just talking about, the have to sells and the want to sells, and there's like the want to buys as well that are all there. We've really been dealing with a lot of the have to sells, which has been a constriction on the market. Just properties coming online, properties that are being
When you
sold.
say have to sell, what kind of situations are people?
These are things where it's like, hey, we had a death in the family.
Yeah.
Where the family might be going through a divorce. There could be a move that has
Job
to happen
related
for
or
work,
something.
job related. Yeah, those type of things. Kids that are selling on behalf of their parents when they're just getting older, downsizing. The want to sells would be something like, hey, we have a family of 5 in a 1-2 bedroom, probably like a 2-bedroom house, and we're fitting kids in closets, but we can tough it out for another couple years until the affordability goes up. So that's the want to buys. And
why do you think that we're going to have more want to?
so I think what you're seeing is a decrease in the interest rates. We just saw, a decrease. Also, I think what happens over time is you kind of become numb to the cost of money. So, that was a certain interest rate, but now it's this interest rate. And it's really a shock yesterday, but today I'm a little bit more used to it. And tomorrow I'm a little bit more used to it. And so it becomes the norm. So people will get used to it. I think also you have the shock of the interest rates, but you also have people that are like, hey, my income is going up. So you have the income side that typically for solid, years and years, the income in the U.S. keeps going up. So you're going to have people that have more income this year than they did last year. And you'll see some bonuses and things like that. So people's disposable income will be going up.
Yeah, it's interesting because some people, as I've been asked this and trying my best to formulate an answer, they've said, well, but debt is like in the trillion or something like that. And that's true. So volume wise, it's higher than it's ever been. But when you look at it as a percentage of GDP, it's actually like at or below norm. So people are out there spending money like pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's like, the data show that they're actually making money, and it's not like they're totally living outside their means or anything. So,
but the rental market is up so much
Yeah.
also.
So much.
So then you have, if they're going to spend the money either way, now
Yes.
they're looking at, well, I could own something, and
Yeah. So like near Cal Poly, it's $1,500 a room, which is insane.
yeah.
In 5 cities area, it's like $1,000 a room. So it's just, that's so much higher than what it was even a few years ago. So you have the pressure not just on affordability. Yeah, when you sit down, you look at it as a family or a couple or whatever, and you're looking at your house, you're like, hey, I'm gonna lock in a little bit higher, price per month, but maybe a lot higher. Maybe it's $5,000 more a month. But after like 3-4 years, like the rental market's gonna exceed this.
right.
So
Yeah.
there's like a
You can calculate that. Using
you have-
averages.
yeah, you have a
we can
great-
see when the break-even point is.
you have a great
So-
chart we use with buyers.
Yeah.
On that.
But back to the interest rate thing. we know that the data shows that it's the change in interest rate, not the absolute value, that dictates consumer behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So we're so volatile in 2023 that the market doesn't know how to respond. It's like, because how do you plan? It's like, I don't know whether it's going to be at 8 or 12 or 5, and so everyone kind of holds. And so it was nice to see them rates coming down, but I'm hoping what we get is just some stability. I'm not sure going much below 6 will actually be good for us. We could talk about that another time, but I think what we just need is stability in interest rates. And so what tends to happen is when the market believes that the Fed is done hiking rates, the market responds, and it did once. And then the Fed made the announcement that they were done, and the market responded and it went down like 1.5 or 1.25, like basically overnight. And so I think that it is likely now. They've said that they're going to do 3 rate cuts over the course of next year. And so we'll see how aggressive they get on the other end. But yeah, it's looking like rates will continue to go down through 2024. So Jeff,
even
Bobbie,
on the voting, the dot map that they use, it shows that interest rates over time are going to be going down.
Yeah, and there's everyone puts out a forecast around this time of year, and it was interesting to see some people what they think they'll go down to, and a few were down to maybe 5.5, which I mean, who knows? Seems wild to me, but yeah.
It is funny though that it's not about the actual cost.
Right.
It's like that's such an American thing too. We want to feel like we're getting a deal. We want to feel like we're getting away with something.
Yeah.
That we're getting something somebody else didn't get. It's like it's the psychology of it all. Because we have people like my dad. Their first house they bought was 17%.
Yeah, right.
And so I mean, you have people out there who have spent that to have money, and now they're comparing, and they're still holding out for they just want to feel like they're getting a deal.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Okay, so Bobbie, what happens when rates go down? How does it affect buyers?
They claw at each other.
It gets violent.
It does. It gets
Game of Thrones.
It gets heightened, and there's a lot more of them, and you end up paying more.
Okay, so this feels like a couple summers ago. What was happening?
The frenzy.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah. That's why we've been saying, if you're going to buy now and refi when rates go down, because there's not as much competition. You can get into the house, but it's already starting. It's already starting. I've seen a lot more offers just even this last week going out.
It was interesting during that time is like, just so the audience knows, like I had a list of like a ton of people, and every day I just try to work through that and be like, hey, okay, do you still want to buy a house? Yeah, we're trying to buy a house. Okay, what are you guys looking for? And it was like trying to find this list. And then that's really what evolved to Landmark Group. This is probably 2.5 years ago now, but that's what evolved in Landmark Group is like, man, I want to serve all these people, but I can't. Right? And all these people want to buy a house. Yeah. And so it's like, hey, we got to bring on some, really great agents that can help people buy homes. And then I'll just work on the listing side and help, find the houses for them. And that's how we formed. But it was this huge buyer demand. That list is dwindled. I mean, now it's a list of 10 people or 15 people that are looking, that are serious, serious buyers versus 100 people or whatever it was. Right. So that's the big shift here in the market when it comes to demand.
Yeah. And so we just know based on historical data that when rates drop, there's an increase in buyers. So, and most often that does mean more competition, more offers per listing. Do you think that we'll see a spike in more so than a seasonal spike in inventory?
We just look at each other.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, like
I think it'll be more inventory versus this year because of the want to sells and want to have a change. I think that seasonality has been all messed up since COVID. I think it's going back to normal a little bit. So I think you'll have like a pretty good busy May through probably September. Although for our team, Decembers have always been amazing. So I think the seasonality will kind of go back to what we normally experience on the Central Coast. Now it's interesting in like Los Angeles and other areas, there's different shifts, there's different seasons, and it's just how people behave in different areas. But I don't think there's going to be a huge, it's going to be a gradual more and more inventory. I don't think it's going to be a huge amount of inventory. I just don't see that happening.
We're starting the 2024 with more active listings than we had at this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think Q2 we're going to see a little bit more of a shift upward with listings, but I don't think it's going to be what if you're a buyer out there, I don't think it's what you're hoping for with just having tons to pick from. I don't think.
yeah,
we're
like it
still
won't
getting
turn into a buyer's market.
So I love this. So like new listings last year in December was 137. Okay, which like all-time low. New listings right now in November we're 190. So, if that trends at 190 through December, who knows what it's going to be, but that's positive. Like that's good for the market. And what we see is just it's been a curve. The last 3 years is just really declining. I think what the want to sell or the want to sells or want to buys or have a change, like they've been waiting. Like they're pretty motivated at this point. Like it's like our patience run out. It's like, hey, I still got my 3 kids in the 1 bedroom and I'm done with this.
Yeah, the problem is that most sellers are buyers. And so you get a +1 on the inventory, but then you get a +1 on the buyer side too. So
Right.
it makes it really tough.
Well, that's the thing. You have to have the sellers, whether they're
Yes.
And there's demographic shifts from city to city. I mean, there's so many different things that happen. What makes it particularly difficult for locals that are wanting to have that shift is you have a lot of outside competition trying to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm the one guy who's like, hey, let's get rid of vacation rentals, because I'm like that solves a lot of the housing crisis, especially here locally. My wife is like, no, like that's great for people because they can make some more income. I'm like, I get both sides of the coin. In some way, the government's picking favorites who get to do it and who doesn't. It's just like, hey, let's just get rid of it so that everybody that needs a house, like at least if we increase that 3%, like that's a big win to me. But I mean, that's just my own opinion. That's like not worth anything. But I think
don't sell yourself short, Jeff.
I just nod.
Yeah, it's not
Bobbie's
worth,
like, yes.
not worth anything. But it's frustrating when you have people that you love and you care about. It's like my little rant. We can cut this out if we want. But my little rant is
This is the gold.
like
This is what the people wait for.
This is when we get good.
it's like, you got the single.
We
family
just started
residence.
recording.
Yeah, just started. Yeah, you have single family houses that we've turned into into hotels.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is not what this was designed for. This is not what this product was made for. It's not how it was zoned. There's property rights for sure. There's definitely property rights, but there's special zoning for hotels, and we've totally thrown that out the window, and we're allowing for all these houses to be taken off the market, made into a hotel. It's like, well, let's build some more hotels, solve this issue, and then people who run hotels can run hotels. But it's just, to me, it's like to take single family residences off the market for people that need housing. That trickles down, by the way. So you're like, well, it's not the product. Well, the person moves out or up into that maybe. Right, that vacation rental, up or down, then that next piece of product opens up for somebody else. So it just changes things. So I don't know. And on the Central Coast, there's a lot of it. I think that if you allowed for people to just have single family residences, I think it would open up the inventory quite a bit.
But I mean, if you're going to go to that extent, then we also have people who have second homes here
Oh
that are
man,
empty.
now you're really gonna have to edit.
They're 90% of the
So
time
I think
empty.
Yeah.
that there's a different property tax rate for them.
Yeah.
3%, and it's like, wow, if you really want to have a second home here on the Central Coast or whatever, thing is, it would have to be a California bill. It's a whole move. But if you had a 3% property tax rate for second homes,
That is brutal to see so many
Jeff
houses.
Landon,
Unless-
going into politics.
unless
Yeah.
you rent it out a certain part
Yeah.
of the year,
Right.
and then
Right.
you can just keep it down at whatever. So, but that would solve a lot of that as well.
Okay, so
So.
2024 rates are coming down. There's going to be an increase in buyers.
I'm gonna run for governor.
Jeff's running for office. There's going to be more competition, more inventory likely than last year, but not nearly enough to satisfy buyer demand. So again, more competition, potentially driving prices up. What
Hey, you're good, Travis. Just summarizing all that.
I just said what
so
you
good.
said. It's easy. I just
Grumpy
regurgitated-
Governor Jeff. I
just-
got it. That's the vote for
Grumpy Governor Jeff.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
manage
it.
your
Oh,
campaign. It'll be great. We'll have a good old time.
Oh, it'll be really fun.
So, okay, what advice would you give? Let's start with sellers. Like, what would you tell a seller that if you're having a listing presentation tomorrow?
Yeah, I think right now more than ever. Matter of fact, I think right now is a great time to sell. And I'm not just saying that.
But answer me this then, as or include this in your answer. Why wouldn't I just wait to sell in the spring? Isn't that the normal thing? Like, were you telling me I should list now?
It depends on your situation.
Okay.
So that's the number one thing. What's your situation look like? But there are buyers that want to buy right now that we're working with right now. And if you are a seller that wants to sell, like what I would do is I would get my house ready, take a couple weeks, clean it up, get those little honey to-dos that you haven't done ready. And I would put it in the first, 2nd of January, probably like the 2nd or 3rd of January, because there's a lot of people that are like, we want to do something right now. And I think that you're going to have a pretty big uptake of buyer demand January, February because of the interest rates and because they've just been waiting so long.
And if there's one thing we can say that we've learned from, it's not just in real estate, but in everything, we don't know anything about what tomorrow is going to bring. We only know, I mean, today we can tell you what you could make off your home. We could show you all the numbers that are, that are involved, but we don't know. We just don't know. You don't know with the political situation that's going on. We don't know with the world situation what's going to happen. So if you need to sell, and that's truly just the way I feel. It's not even a sales pitch at all. I usually tell people, if you need to sell when you know what you can get. Like, at least there is something secured. If you want to bet against the market and hold out, that's fine if you can afford to do that. But right now we know that you're still going to get top dollar.
It goes
for
to
your home.
buyers as well, right?
Yeah.
So I've worked with so many buyers where I'm like, finally, after 3 years, you finally decided that you wanted to buy, where we would have gotten the same house for like $150,000 cheaper 3 years ago. Right. So like waiting to buy typically isn't a win, unless it was like 2007. And
right.
Well, that's why it comes down to like, can you afford your house payment? It shouldn't have anything to do with anything else. Can you afford what you're going to live on every single month? Can you afford to buy that month? Because I mean, you could do that up, down, and center. You could run the numbers all sorts of different ways, but all that matters is that you can afford it month to month.
It's good.
Okay. Bye now.
Booyah. I think that's a good update.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. We could get thrown curveballs. Who knows? But I do think it's going to be. We will. Yeah, that's the only
one thing we can
consistent.
Bet on, we will.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a good year too. I'm excited across the board, like just personal, family stuff. I'm excited for business wise. I think it's going to pick up. Kind of gelling the team still. Landmark Group. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Keller Williams crushing it.
Great. We're happy to have you guys.
What do you from your seat? What are you seeing? What are you excited for in 2024?
I'm excited to see the people who are working really hard getting some of that success. We've had a ton of new agents through the years, which is great. It's a great time to get into real estate if you're thinking about it. But honestly, like the people who have just been putting in the work and really getting so good at what they do and are so passionate about it, I'm excited to see them get the work that they deserve. It's like you see a lot of people going after the same apple, and it's, sometimes it can be discouraging watching, but I'm excited to see our people, they do well. Cause I see you guys like constantly getting into education, how can I help these people? How can I be better? How can I, and it's like, it's time that we all.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Like I love Keller Williams Realty Central Coast. I came over in 2020 and it's been such a great atmosphere and team to work with. Like, it's been so fun. Like, I think it's important for real estate agents as you choose your brokerage, like who's in that brokerage and like, why are they there? And is there camaraderie and what does that brokerage stand for? And like, I think that's become even more and more clear as the years have gone on. It's like what we all are about and the camaraderie, and like we're for each other and like helping each other grow professionally with education. I mean, this field is not for the faint of heart, and it's like the more we stand together and work together, the better we become. Yeah. So I've just loved that, and you've done a great job with culture. Thanks. And the team is just, I'm just feeling that from everybody. It's just like we're all for each other. It's it's fun. It's like I saw a lady driving in today, and I'm like, oh, there she is. Like, you know what? There's no parking spaces. And I'm like, I'm here. I'm a dude. So I back out, and she pulls in, and then all of a sudden some other guy's leaving. I'm like, sweet, I get my other spot. But it was like that's how we are as a team. Mm-hmm. Like we care about each other and want each other to just succeed. And I love that about K-Dub. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Like, we're a competitive bunch, but we're not competitive with each other. Yeah. It's like we all want everyone to succeed and win, and we're really rooting each other on. We're competitive with ourselves, though. With ourselves, 100%. Yeah. Yes. So. Yeah, there's room for everyone, though. Yeah, I think that's like the coolest thing, to watch everyone kind of get there together. This has been a really fun. We have a really fun group right now. We do. It's pretty special.
All right, Jeff, Bobbie, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Travis.